If you're looking at the Amp Core Studio and the Solid Studio MKII and you're wondering what are the differences, which one should I get? Aren't they the same pedal packaged differently? I'm going to be covering the similarities and the differences in this video, and by the end you should know which one's right for you. Now, before we dive in, let's just have an overview of both pedals, just to get a sense of what they are. So my take on this is that if you just look for an amp modeler that you're going to slap onto your board and use different pedals with, this is the unit you want. You have different amps, different cabs, and different speakers. You can upload your own IRs. It has a noise gate that's built in. You also have a very powerful EQ. You also have the effects send return. If what you want is an amp modeler that you put on your pedal board, this is what I would recommend. If you're someone who wants to get into home recording, this one here is what I would go with. It doubles as an audio interface, so if you have a USB connection, you can double this as an audio interface. It has stereo capability, so it has balanced 1/4 inch outs. You also have a drive-through, less amp models, so this is less of a direct to front house kind of thing, although you can definitely do that. But I see this as more as a solution for someone that really wants to keep the options simple, doesn't want option paralysis, but wants really strong features. So if you're looking for home recording, you want to go direct to an FR cab. Maybe you want to use powered monitors, so you would use the output on this for that application. If you want to get into home recording, this one here makes more sense. If you need the stereo capability, this one here makes more sense. But we're going to go into more details about what makes both units different. So I glossed over some of the features, but I just wanted to kind of establish who I think these pedals are for. So the Amp Core would be the traditional guitar player, and the Solid State would be more for the home hobbyist, someone that wants a great sounding stereo setup for practice. It could definitely be used for gigging, don't get me wrong on that, but that's how I see the difference between both of them. Now, to validate this, we're going to go in depth into the specs that make these two similar and different. We're going to start with the Amp Core. The Amp Core Studio has 26 famous amp models in one small pedal. Real amp feel with great response thanks to their white box modeling tech. 33 built-in cab IRs, plus 12 slots for your own third-party IRs. You have 3 scene modes that let you switch tones live with no gaps. Built-in noise gate, EQ, and level control for each patch. Send return loop lets you use time-based effects without compromising your tone. The Amp Core has super low latency with just 1.2 milliseconds. And you have high quality sound with 110 dB dynamic range and 48 kilohertz at 32-bit processing. The Solid State Studio MKII has advanced stereo IR engine with high quality cab sounds, built-in amp modeling for power amp section, 8 classic amps. You have free routing of the amp, cab, EQ, and ambient effects. You can customize your signal flow. There's a big color screen that's easy to navigate, 128 presets, and 60 IR slots per channel, EQ and aux in, headphone out, and more global controls. USB-C for recording and editing with the free software, MIDI support and stereo output with ground lift, 110 dB dynamic range and super low latency, 0.85 milliseconds in bypass mode, and 1.9 milliseconds with effects on. In plain English, the Amp Core Studio is great for gigging musicians, while the Solid State Studio has far more features which can be used by the gigging guitar player, but can also be used at home for recording. You would think that because these are made by the same company, they're going to be using the exact same modeling technology and that they're going to sound the same. You would be surprised. So we're going to listen to them stock, and after that I'm going to be using a third-party IR. And at this point we're going to be able to determine whether the IR is making them sound different or whether it's the modeling technology that makes them sound different or similar. I want to hear your thoughts right after this. Let me know which one you think would be best for you. So what I've done is broken down the pros and cons of each unit. Perhaps this might help you make a decision on which one is right for you. So I got my notes because I don't know everything, so I'm going to have to read off of these. When it comes to the pros, the Amp Core has 26 amp models, noise gate, EQ, 33 built-in IRs, and also the headphone out, all in one pedal. It's great for travel, silent practice, and also for recording if you just use the output into an audio interface. It has an effects loop, which the other unit does not. It has ultra low latency of 1.2 millisecond. When it comes to the cons of the Amp Core Studio, first, it does not have a balanced DI out, does not have XLR out, and it doesn't have any built-in effects. Here are the pros of the Solid Studio MKII. First of all, how customizable it is, whether it's the routing path or whether it's the power amp section, which you could make a Vox AC30, have something like 6V6 or 6L6, or a Fender Deluxe have EL84 or EL34, you have balanced quarter-inch stereo outputs, onboard time-based effects, and it doubles as an audio interface. When it comes to the cons of the Solid Studio Mark II, there are 3 of them that really stick out to me. The first is there are no XLR outputs, there's no effects loop, and there's only 8 amp models, no high gain stuff, and no bass amps. So if you made it this far in the video, you're probably wondering what my take on both of these units is. And you would be surprised to know that I don't have a favorite here. I think both are great, but I kind of see them different. Let's start with this guy. If you don't want to use the menus, you don't want to do any deep dive, you have 3 knobs. It's pretty simple. You just navigate by turning these, clicking to select what you want. Everything on screen is super simple. A monkey could do this. Since I can do it with just these knobs, you should be more than fine with it. I like the effects return. That's a great option if you need that for time-based effects, or if you need that for anything that's a little more subtle than just plug it into the front and just hoping for the best. This unit here for gigging would be what I would be using mostly, because it's super simple, smaller form factor, and you can upload your own IRs if you don't like the stock ones. It's got great sounds, and it doubles as a bass amp, and it also has some really cool sought after guitar amps in here. That's what I would go with if I have no other intentions than to go out and play gigs and go straight to front of house. When it comes to the Solid Studio Mark II, how would I use this? So personally, for me, I think that the features on here, at first it looks a little more complex than the amp core, but it's really not that complex. You got 2 foot switches, a rotary knob with a selector, and then you have your amp, IR, EQ, and room knobs right here on the front. So it's pretty simple. It looks a little more complex, but not a whole lot. Much bigger screen. You have all the features here. You have your input, your dry through, and then you have your stereo out. You have the aux in and the headphone out. Pretty simple. It's a little bigger, not by much, but a little bigger than the amp core. Packs a little more punch in terms of features and routing. However, for me as a guitar player that also plays bass, and I do play high gain stuff, there's not a lot of options in terms of amplifiers. So if for you, you're more of a traditionalist, you play just guitar, you play more blues and rock oriented stuff, this might be what you're looking for. It's got 8 great amps, 8 microphones, a lot of speaker IRs, and you can upload a hell of a lot of your own third-party IRs in here. So in that regard, it is far more flexible than the amp core. But the amp core, for me as a guitar player, has way more models that I do want to use. I do have that need for the really high gain stuff, but also maybe like a little Tweed amp or a little Vox AC15, something like that. So the amp core for me as a player kind of reflect the simplicity I usually go for. I do find that it sounds great. Maybe this sounds a little better, but not by much. Yeah, the amp core for me, super simple, smaller form factor, simplicity on the surface of the pedal, just 3 knobs. I mean, you can't get more simple. And I do like the fact that there's an effects loop, so I can use whatever time-based effects that I want in the effects loop as opposed to directly in the input of the pedal. So that's my take on it. I think both are great. It just depends on you as a guitar player, what you're looking for. If you're looking for a lot of amp models, the amp core would be the thing. But if you're looking for better routing and more options, this is what you should go for. If you have any questions, just drop it down in the comment section below. I'm going to do my best to help you out with making a decision. Or if you have any maybe suggestion for a future video with this one or the amp core, just let me know and I'm going to see if I can do that video for you. In the meantime, there are 2 more videos in the amp core series and more videos with the Solid State Studio. So click on one of those and I'm going to see you in the next one. Cheers.